Hello, my name is Trina Baker, and this is the podcast video I have created for Fort Hays State University's Introduction to Cognitive Psychology, and it is about Chapter 4 of the text, Attention. This chapter was a shorter one, which I found a bit ironic and humorous, since it was all about the workings of attention in humans. The key points outlined in Chapter 4 about attention were how attention is a limited resource, about the visual and auditory filtering and automation that goes into being able to cope with the amount of attention that we have, and the contrast of focusing our attention with the blindness that arises toward what we are not paying attention to. My highlights for this chapter are the amazing convenience of automation and how we can become so focused that it causes blindness. I think that the fact that my brain is always actively trying to better manage my attention and avoid wasting attention and wasting energy, and how it eventually automates so many tasks for me is incredible. This frees up my attention and focus for other things after something is committed to memory and it becomes more automatic or habitual. So some examples that were given in the chapter of this automation were like when you learn to ride a bike, or when you learn to drive a car, or some other skill that when you first learn it, you're like totally focused on it. But then after you get it, and it's committed to memory, then it kind of becomes habitual and automatic, so it doesn't take as much energy or attention to accomplish it, and you can do other stuff at the same time. Although it's not recommended to do other things like when you're driving, because you need to switch back to active attention. The other part of the chapter I found especially interesting is how we are able to become so focused that it causes blindness, or sort of a deafness in the case of hearing. The chapter started out with the example of a plane crash that was caused by inattention, essentially blindness by one of the pilots. This brought to my mind the recent plane and helicopter tragedy and more everyday car wrecks. Onlookers often wonder how the driver or pilot did not see what was coming. And sometimes, yes, they were messing with their phone, but not always. Distraction does take away one's attention, but I did not really think about being so focused on one thing could essentially blind me to a lot of other things. This is also totally normal, as the typical brain would get overwhelmed if it tried to attend to everything that was going on. It has to be able to filter out what seems important to be able to cope and function. So it wants to keep the important information and get rid of what it might not be important, so it just kind of, lets it go. On the flip side, this also reminded me of how hard it is for some people, like neurodivergent individuals, to operate normally when there is too much going on all at once. It's hard for them to filter and tune out what they don't need to pay attention to. They get too overwhelmed when there's too much going on. So a lot of times they will find a way to help them filter it out, like wearing headphones or going to a quieter place so they can concentrate on what they're doing, because they aren't as able to filter out or block it out like the neurotypical brain. And the text says how it is able to be blind almost to the other things, or deaf to the other things. So I thought that was an interesting contrast. Again, I have included the reference for the textbook in case you are not taking this class and want to check it out. Since it seems to only be available as an ebook, you'll probably need to check out the publisher's site or your college bookstore. Thank you for watching.